Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is game number 2 here between Mouse's MorroW and EG's IdrA. This time we're here on Shakur's Plateau. MorroW spawning in the upper left-hand position as our red Terran player, and of course the green Zerg player EG's IdrA spawning in the upper right-hand position. Once again, game number 2. This time here on Shakur's Plateau, IdrA managing to win game 1 just with superior macro, and one of the biggest things that IdrA was able to do was harass and delay those expansions for MorroW, especially when we saw IdrA be able to tech his way up into Broodlords. That stopped MorroW's expansion at the high yield, and that proved to be very beneficial as IdrA himself had a high yield expansion going, plus an additional expansion above what MorroW had. And again, with that huge economic advantage, IdrA was just able to capitalize on that. After our first huge engagement that we saw, IdrA quickly re-upped his forces and was able to push out with a second push, and MorroW just did not have enough to deal with it. So a very, very excellent play there from IdrA, and again, this is going to be game number 2 here. We can see right now MorroW actually moving out relatively early with that SCV scout. Oh, never mind, actually stopping at the front, and he is going to be coming off with that wall off at the front of his natural expansion. We can see that first racks right there, and what else is going on? It looks like, ooh, there may be a 2 racks opening here. It appears to be the case. Looks like MorroW will be opening up with the 2 racks, and the reason I knew that was because we saw the delay of SCV production, holding off SCV production at 11 supply. Not continuing up with that pretty much implies that he would be going for something like that 2 racks early aggression. So let's see how effective MorroW is able to be with that. And he's actually rallied. Where is he rallied? He's rallied to the center of the map, and that is, of course, he does not know where IdrA is. The one thing he does know, though, is that IdrA is not directly across from him in that near position. Spawning directly north or south of your opponent is not possible on Shakur's Plateau, and so that is why MorroW is not really even going to bother scouting down here, because he knows for a fact that IdrA is not in that location. And now that that first racks is out and that first Marine is coming on through, we do have the SCV scout moving out for MorroW, and as we can see, IdrA has scouted out the fact that MorroW is over here spotting that supply depot in that corner, so it's going to allow him to pull on back over here with his Overlord. SCV Scout actually first checking the bottom right-hand position. Upon realizing that IdrA is not there, it looks like he will be moving straight into the upper right-hand position, at which point he will be scouting out his opponent, and IdrA trying to move on forward with that drone scout, unfortunately getting denied from that first Marine, and we've got 2 SCVs actually up here, so MorroW is prepared to actually come out with some harass here, some bunker harass, but he's got a bulk of his Marines back home, and trying to deny the scouting there of IdrA's drone. That's not going to happen, though. IdrA is just about to walk up there. Is the Marine going to catch it? No, he does not. MorroW walking just by it. So now IdrA is fully aware that this is coming, and he should be able to prepare. I expect a spine, and there it is. Spine crawler getting dropped for IdrA. MorroW, unfortunately, just a little late to the ball game here. He's arriving a little too late to actually be able to be too effective, but he will be trying that triple bunker creation, and this could be problematic for IdrA. I did not realize that there were so many SCVs here from MorroW, and if he gets this up, he could actually be in a fairly decent position. We can see IdrA responding. He's got 4 more Zerglings coming out, also a bunch of spines. His first one just about to finish. Now, the one advantage is that that spine does have that ranged advantage against these Marines in the bunker, so we should see IdrA start to slowly whittle down the forces here. But look at this bunker just within range of that hatchery, and IdrA may very well be losing this. We still have the drone scout sitting idly over here. MorroW coming out with more reinforcements. I do also expect MorroW to work his way into an expansion, but all of the focus right now is going to be on this harass, because if he can take out this expansion, that is going to be absolutely phenomenal. We can see that one bunker starting to get worked, and MorroW will in fact be repairing it. Do keep in mind that this costs resources. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. He's sucking his resources pretty dry by keeping up this repair, but you know what? He is absolutely determined, and see you later. The hatchery gets dropped, and pretty much nothing IdrA can do about it. That was pretty unreal, in all honesty. MorroW, very effective harass, but the question is what to do from here. Now, we've got that expansion coming on through. He's still keeping up this repair, and I expect him to stop. There we go. I really want him to salvage these here, because he's just blowing resources by keeping up this constant repair, and still repairing this one. He's actually just trying to buy his Marines some time to head back home. There's the full salvage of all 3 of them. Now here come the Zerglings. As expected, SCVs will be trying to make it back home, and again, that was actually a pretty nice play there by MorroW, just buying some time for those Marines. He kept that wall off up just long enough to allow the Marines to make it back home safely, to prevent any of IdrA's Zerglings from harassing and actually taking them out as they try to make their way back home. Very, very nice play there from MorroW. Early game, MorroW significantly ahead. Resource-wise, he still did take a hit from that pretty consistent repair job that we saw, but he also salvaged off his bunkers, so certainly overall definitely an effective harass early on there for Mr. MorroW. And we can see that full wall off coming up right now with that additional bunker being placed. We've got a couple Marines actually patrolling the edge, and at the moment we will be seeing MorroW just try to deny any Overlord scouting that may come through. We also do have a patrol route over here from MorroW. This will allow him to spot when IdrA does move out into his third, as it is very likely that that third expansion will be placed right here. Not as likely to see a third right here, just because it's a little more risky. And, will IdrA do that? That's the question. IdRA's certainly in a tough position right now. Losing that hatchery that early on certainly sets him back quite a bit. We can see that metabolic boost just working its way on through. That's going to be done in just one moment. Now with this full wall off, we do have a tech lab coming out here for MorroW, so starting to get some upgrades there for his bio forces. We also have a tank coming out. Marine tank is certainly what I expect for MorroW. Here comes that engineering bay as well, possibly worried about a transition into mutas very quickly from IdrA to try to counteract the early harass that we saw MorroW come out with. Pulling down with some SCVs. MorroW, of course, trying to get this natural expansion saturated as early as possible. You can see IdrA's hatchery has just popped up. Now with the speedling research complete, IdrA is moving out to get some scouting information. Looks like he's actually moving on down. And is he checking for a quick third from MorroW? That isn't entirely unlikely, but he certainly might want to take a moment or two just to check, even just moving one Zergling in. Well, that's not, it doesn't hurt. Why not? Might as well try to get that intel. But obviously, MorroW is just on the 2 bases. I mean, that would be way overextending and not very likely for MorroW to do. So MorroW working up his Marine forces. Also looks like he's going to be going straight into double Medivac there, and also has that stim research coming. So what we will be seeing next for MorroW is certainly going to be some stim marine drop harass. That is the next plan for MorroW. That is his next step in this game here. He's going to be moving straight out with some stim marine harass and try to actually snipe some of the economy and possibly even grab some of the tech here for IdrA. IdRA's lair has now just popped. He is still on 2 bases. Again, not even bothering going into a third because he's not even, he doesn't even have full saturation. Just now working his way into full saturation of both those bases. Now, we do expect a third to come out. The question is when, really. And it's kind of a toss-up, because if he comes out with that third too soon, then he could deal with that drop harass being incredibly effective by MorroW. But if he decides to stay on the two bases for too long as well, then he runs the risk of falling behind MorroW. MorroW, just on the 2 bases with those mules, is going to start to eke out a mineral advantage. You can see right now he does have that advantage over IdrA. Even if it is just slight, he's got an advantage nonetheless. Doesn't have a Vespene advantage, but that is certainly due to the fact that MorroW, well, he's not going for a very Vespene heavy build. Now we do have those Medivacs in play, and here comes that drop harass as expected. We also saw the lift off there of the racks, moving those into the main. Wants to get some reactors down to pump out those double Marines, but look at this. Look at this. One Medivac moving in this direction, and where is that other Medivac? What is it doing? It's sitting idly over there. Oh man, I expected them both to be moving out at the same time. What are you doing, MorroW? What I was hoping for is that he was going to be attempting to hit the third. You can see IdrA has now just come out with that, and at the same time hit the main. And doing something like that dual-pronged attack, that can be so effective. But some very nice scouting over here with IdrA's 2 overlords. A simple Viking will do the trick, and actually we do have that coming on through right now. That one Viking will be used for Overlord hunting, and he's got these 2 free kills over here, and if he scouts this one, he's got that possible third one as well. Stim Marines moving up. They will be going straight into that third, and here comes time for the damage. We'll be trying to do as much as he can. We've got some Speedlings and Banelings, though, and that's going to prevent these Marines. Oh, target firing Marines. How effective was that? That was absolutely nuts. Now, look at this. We've got a small little push also moving down here. There's a scan for MorroW, and he's actually just going for some creep tumor killing right now, and that's pretty much it. Still some Marines in the corner over here trying to do some damage. That was intense target firing there from MorroW. He took out those Banelings before they got anywhere near those Marines. That was certainly absolutely beautiful. Now, a little bit of a danger situation over here, though, is that we do have IdrA moving out with these Speedlings and the Mutas, and that's actually going to allow him to quite easily deal with this. So here we go right now. Speedlings and Mutas moving in. Zerglings to take out the Marines. Mutas to take out the Medivac. Now, those Stim Marines doing as much damage as possible, but still, there's just too much there from IdrA, and MorroW wasn't able to actually keep those guys alive any longer. Third expansion planned for MorroW over here. He is also working up his forces. Let's take a look at the upgrades. He's 0-1 right now. No other upgrades coming out at the moment. He also has a few more racks coming out. He's preparing for that third expansion because once he has that up, ooh, look at this. We're going to be seeing a mech-heavy transition here. We've got 2 more factories coming out. Lots and lots of production buildings here coming out for MorroW. Again, he is preparing for the fact that he's going to be on the third very shortly. And once he's on that third, he'll be able to afford this much. On 2 bases, he can certainly not afford this many production buildings. But again, once he gets that additional third expansion up, he will be all set. And we did see, I saw another Medivac. There it is over here. I want to see some Vikings. I actually know that Viking harass no longer effective just because of the mass amount of Mutalisk that IdrA does have at the moment. Sitting just out of the range of all those Marines. A little bit of a taunting situation going on. IdrA saying, you can't really deal with these Mutalisks at the moment. And the transfer of that expansion now moving down finally. And lots of Marines moving down to try to deal with any of the Muta harass that may take place at this expansion. We can also see over here IdrA working his way into that fourth. A couple of Spielings moving out across the map as well as these Mutalisks over here. And what is IdrA attempting to do? Is he actually going to be trying to swoop around, or is he first checking that third expansion? Looks like he's going to be checking the third up there. He just wants to see just in case and actually trying to snipe out that one tank, and he gets it. IdrA with just enough mutas to be able to snipe out that tank. Still Spielings sitting idly over here. Those should be coming into use at some point in the future. We're going to see some sort of a tank spread here from MorroW, but you know it's a little bit of a rough situation. You spread your tank line too thin, and then you don't have as much concentrated fire to deal with those Spielings and Banelings. But then again, if you keep them too close, then you worry about getting completely overwhelmed. So this is kind of a tough situation. You can see how spread out these tanks are. It's a very tough position to defend. In fact, he's going to be relying on a little bit of a wall off here from these supply depots as well. Going straight for that Overlord, that's a quick and easy kill right there. I'm not entirely certain if we still have that Viking in play. Yes, we do. There's still one Viking in play. I really don't know. There it is. So one Viking sitting over here from MorroW. What I do want to see, of course, is more drop harass from MorroW. This is what we kind of lacked last game, and hopefully MorroW gets on the ball this game with that drop harass and is able to stop IdrA from macroing up too hard as he did last game. Hive Tech is now coming out for IdrA, is also working out into some more Infestor heavy play. We can see those pathogen glands just finishing. Working up with those muta numbers, he's actually feeling confident about engaging those turrets, but MorroW, pretty turret heavy there in the main, does have more than enough to actually push IdrA back for fear of losing too many of those mutas. A couple of Spielings moving on up into that natural expansion, the ones that were situated over here at that ramp, doing a little bit of damage. Marines able to mop them up though. We do have a slow push moving across the map right now for MorroW, and I thought I saw some sort of I thought I saw some red over here, but it does not look like I did. So yes, there is no harass going on over in this position. Mutas for IdrA moving across the map again. Needs to be so careful about engaging those Marines and hopefully just try to catch some of those tanks out of position. IdrA right now just continuing to dance around the map with those mutas. We do have a couple of Infestors actually getting ready to attempt to push forward. And here's the fungal growth right now, getting those tanks routed in place. And oh my gosh, one tank down, the second tank dangerously low. But the Marines able to push back those mutas before they get that killing blow. Very nice fungal there from IdrA. IdrA, of course, certainly wants to focus down those Marines as well with those fungal growths. That is what it is most effective against. A couple of Marines grabbing the tower over here. However, these mutas will be able to mop that up quite easily. There we go. Mutas moving straight on in, taking out those Marines without hesitation. Push forward there of Stim Marines, actually just enough to push back those Infestors, and he sniped 2 of them. 2 Infestors taken out by a small group of Marines. That is certainly a fair trade indeed. We've got a Medivac and actually just missing those Mutalisks, just barely missing the Medivac here, and MorroW will be dropping on this fourth. Oh, he overextended that Medivac though, dropping a little too close. This allows IdrA to scout out the fact that it's coming and respond. He should have dropped it back here, stimmed up, and then engage. Not the most effective drop at all for MorroW. That is quite unfortunate indeed, but he does certainly have a lot of his attention focused to this strong push here across the middle. MorroW slowly making his way towards IdrA's base. We will see IdrA converge on these forces once he feels like he's got enough Spielings and Banelings, and actually with those mutas sniping down a few Marines and getting that one tank too. And look at this tank spread right now, just keeping those tanks nice and spread apart. Again, trying to prevent him from getting completely overwhelmed and surrounded. We do have 2 Broodlords coming into play, and once those are in play, MorroW is going to have a little bit more of a difficult time here. And actually, look at this, MorroW making part of his push go straight towards his 3rd and 4th expansion, and this could be pretty devastating for IdrA. Nice fungal growth, though, going down on those Marines, doing a lot of damage, but there are still enough tanks up right now, and that is going to allow him to take out this expansion. Looks like MorroW will be sniping that expansion. MorroW taking out this expansion as well, and IdrA's Expo over here is in a tough spot. Now, we do have still more Broodlords coming on in. IdrA trying to thin up these numbers as much as possible. These tanks are very vulnerable. Here come the Stim Marines, though, to shoo back the rest of those Mutas, and IdrA really needs to push on this force while a lot of Marines over here from MorroW are down at the 3rd, and here it comes right now. Speedling's Abandon's pushing out against his tank spread. There's not enough Marines anymore. IdrA able to completely surround all of those Marines, taking out those tanks quite easily as well, but IdrA could be losing this Expo. Are we going to see MorroW target fire it down? No, IdrA is actually pushing forward with the rest of his forces, able to mop up this push. Now, IdrA lost this expansion over here, and he also lost this expansion, so he was certainly set back. I really do wish that MorroW had been able to snipe down this Expo, and even though he wasn't able to take that out, he did kill off a lot of workers. Look at that, MorroW so far in this game, killing off a total of 38 workers, so he was focusing down all of the drones over here, forcing IdrA to re-drone up, and that may have actually been a better spot, because IdrA right now is just on these 2 hatcheries. I know he's got 3 up and running right now that he can produce larvae from, but still, he's in certainly a pretty rough spot. MorroW working his way down into this 4th. He's trying to get some ample protection against those Mutas here with those turrets. Sensor tower to spot anything coming, and there is the planetary fortress to deal with any of those ground units. Nice scan timing there from MorroW, spotting IdrA's forces, and this allows him to see, wow, there's a lot of Broodlords in play. Time to switch up to some Vikings. We can see those Vikings coming out. We also do have personal cloaking coming out, and I am, of course, going to assume that is for Ghost, but I do not know if there's a Ghost Academy. We've got 2 Ghosts in play. That is certainly for Ghost. There it is right now. Personal cloaking coming down in that Ghost Academy. Now, what he will be doing with that is using those Cloak Ghosts to actually try to push forward and land those clutch EMPs and land those snipes before IdrA can actually spot him out. We have another expansion also over here for MorroW. So MorroW, very nice expos. Let's take a look at that income. MorroW does have an advantage right now, and at this point in the game, that's a little bit concerning for IdrA. So MorroW, with those extra command centers prepared to drop down, able to get these 2 saturated bases down very, very quickly. And here comes a push right now across the middle from MorroW. He's got Ghost in the mix, that personal cloaking very close to finished researching. Lots and lots of tanks coming out, also working up those Viking numbers. He's certainly going to need those Vikings as well as those Ghosts to deal with these Broodlords. And here it comes right now. IdrA preparing to push out. Now, problem is that those Broodlords, those Broodlings land, and those tanks force splash damage against the Marines. That is a huge issue. 1 Ghost actually gets target fired down. Here come the Vikings to deal with the Broodlords, and MorroW needs to do something about this. He's in a tough position. We have got those, oh no, we need to be so careful about fungal growth as well. This is the huge concern, and IdrA doing exactly what he needs to. You know, you force the units back and you try to tempt those Marines to walk forward to snipe out your Broodlords, and then you move forward with those infestors and threaten fungal growths. And that is, of course, when the Terran player needs to use his Ghost to be able to land down not only those snipes, but those EMPs to get rid of that energy. MorroW walking right by a Zergling there at the Xel'Naga Tower with those 2 Medivacs. That, of course, is going to allow IdrA to spot it and quickly respond. And look at that, hefty losses there. 2 filled Medivacs with Marines get quickly taken out. We have another drop coming down over here. These are 2 Medivacs worth of Marines. Going to be trying to do as much damage as possible, stemming up. Zerglings moving forward for a complete surround, but at the same time, there's a push on this expansion. That gets taken out very easily. Nice EMPs on those infestors. That was absolutely beautiful. Still have a few Corruptors in play. Very nice fungal growth there. IdrA has lost this expansion, but it looks like MorroW is going to lose the rest of his forces as well. Oh no, there's not a lot of anti-air left. There's still a ton of Vikings. We need some more fungal growth. Doesn't want to walk into that tank line though. And we've got those Vikings trying to engage those Corruptors, take those down. Looks like IdrA does have not enough Corruptors at the moment, and these Vikings are still going to be around. We need some more fungal growth. There's one. So down to just the 2 Vikings versus the 2 Corruptors, and it looks like there is going to be 1 Viking left, and he's going to be going straight for those Broodlords. Needs to be careful though about that infested Terran play. The drop over here gets taken out. Some more reinforcements moving across the map for MorroW right now, sniping out right under those Broodlords. Here is the defensive nuke, trying to force IdrA back. and buy MorroW a little bit of time. We do have a little bit of Muta harass attempting to go down over here. However, there are a lot of turrets, and that should be enough turrets to actually prevent IdrA from pushing onto that too heavily, especially if we just see MorroW come down with some repair. Again, nice saturation over here. A couple of idle workers, but not the end of the world. Stim Marines will actually be moving down, and they're going straight for these mutas over here. It would just take IdrA half a second to pull those mutas into safety, and let's see if he manages to do so. So here come those Stim Marines, and IdrA certainly not paying attention to those Mutalisks as those get dropped, and IdrA does not even bother pulling them back. Getting in the late stage of the game, things are getting a little bit hectic. Everyone's attention is a little bit divided. IdrA trying to get up this Expo over here. He's got some okay saturation over here, some decent saturation in this position as well. MorroW sitting with control of the center of the map. MorroW at that economic advantage as well. In terms of resources lost, MorroW also ahead. So all signs point to MorroW being in a strong position right now, but still the Broodlords are so threatening, and MorroW just needs to make sure that he doesn't take too much splash damage. Another defensive nuke going down, forcing MorroW to push back. That's going to let a couple free shots go down for those Vikings, and here comes a slow push towards the expansion again, and MorroW just doing everything he can to deny these Expos. Here come the Broodlords, Speedlings and Banelings pushing forward. That nuke goes off, doesn't end up hitting anything. Broodlords moving down, and again just trying to stop those tanks from being able to take those out. Here come the Vikings moving forward. We should be seeing some fungal growth, and there it is, fungal growth on the heavy Viking numbers. Vikings still within range of those Broodlords as IdrA keeps pushing towards those Vikings. That's allowing those Vikings to get off a bit of extra damage, but look at all that force splash damage that MorroW's doing against his own units because of those Broodlings. IdrA able to defend that expansion, absolutely beautiful, but still so many Marines here and Vikings and Medivacs in the center of the map. We've got a lot of ghosts too. Should be seeing some clutch snipes go down at some point. MorroW muling it up here, getting lots and lots of minerals. Another defensive nuke getting planted there at the high ground. IdrA luckily able to spot it. Needs to be careful with those Vikings, and he's going to be using these defensive nukes to really focus on sniping down that Expo. A nice EMP, but those huge fungal growths get laid down. A couple of Banelings moving up. Nice Marine split, able to prevent that, and there it is. MorroW snipes the expansion again. IdrA having just an incredibly difficult time, and more defensive nukes keeping those Broodlords at bay. The Broodlords are so slow, it's very dangerous for them to walk anywhere near those nukes. Let's just watch it go down just for the heck of it. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. This defensive nuke's proving to be absolutely crucial in MorroW's late game strategy of pushing IdrA's expansions here. Nice snipes going down on the Overseer there, preventing IdrA from being able to spot any more cloaked ghosts here. Nice EMP as well, getting a little bit of that infestor energy. A couple of Broodlings chasing down those. Oh, here's another defensive nuke from MorroW. Yet again, he has been keeping it up, and this is not looking good for IdrA because I am not sure that he has spotted this. It's going to be dropping in just 1 second. We've got those Marines stemming up. A fungal growth goes down. Oh, and IdrA denies us the satisfaction of watching that nuke drop. That makes me sad. All right, guys, game number 2 here going to MorroW as IdrA leaves right before the nuke drops. We'll be moving on to the third and final game in just one moment. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Keep watching and keep owning. Damn you, IdrA.